Welcome to Shed TV, folks. Nice to see you again. Today we're very fortunate to have Australian football legend, Hawthorn great, Mr. Peter Knights. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Tony.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Tell us, how did football start for you?
Well, it was a long time ago. I was only a young boy. Look, as a young boy growing up in Gippsland, Victoria, on a dairy farm. So I was a dairy farmer's son. So we never got a chance to go and see VFL footy because those cows had to be milked morning and night. So we were sort of bound to the farm. And being a Hawthorn supporter, I used to wear that knitted Guernsey that Mum made for me with my favourite player's number on the back and pretended to be one of my heroes, running around the paddocks, kicking the footy, marking, jumping, just really enjoying myself. But as I said, barracking from afar, it was just like a dream that one day, wouldn't it be great to play VFL footy? But I never thought it would be a possibility. So I was at primary school in those days in a little country town called Longwarry, and then I went to Druin High School, caught the school bus early in the morning and went to Druin High School. And it wasn't until I was in about year 10 as a 15, 16-year-old that I happened to play in a couple of games when a recruiting scout from Hawthorn happened to be there visiting, because that was an era of zoning where clubs could only recruit players from their zone in their area. And I was in the West Gippsland Football League, and this recruiting scout saw me have a good game. I kicked 10 goals as a young boy in a senior team, and I got an invitation then to go and do a pre-season at Hawthorn. What an unbelievable situation. Happened to then play in a couple of practice matches, and then, surprise, surprise, I was invited to be a part of the Hawthorn senior list. So with great excitement, I went down to receive my first Hawthorn Guernsey at the beginning of the 1969 season. So that's how it all started.
That's an exciting time for a young fella from the bush.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And during that period in the 70s, which was really your heyday, how often did you train and what was the pay like?
Well, in those early days, I was only training with Hawthorn twice a week, which, because of the 100 kilometres I had to come, that's about all I could. Training under that John Kennedy regime was pretty tough, again, for a young 16, 17-year-old boy. Kennedy's commandos we were known as, so our training was last man standing, competitiveness, match practice, 1 against 1, 2 against 2, and that was the style of game that the Hawks played. So I had to learn that, and I had to develop my body very, very quickly to be able to adapt to that style of game. So I only played 6 games in my first year, but I was again only 16, then 17-year-old. And then in my second year, I became a regular and then continued to play in the seniors from then on.
What are some of the highlights from those playing days?
Look, the highlights were many, and just playing at the Hawthorn Footy Club, meeting some of those heroes who I'd supported from afar, Peter Hudson, David Parkin, Peter Crimmins, be coached by the great legendary John Kennedy. I mean, that in itself was just overwhelming for a young country boy. But look, there's no doubt playing for the mighty Hawks and wearing that Hawthorn Guernsey and the realisation that here am I now a player with this club that I'd always barracked for from afar. This dream was starting to come true. I'm actually playing for the Hawthorn Footy Club, putting on a brown and gold Hawthorn Guernsey, and that was the highlights. And then no doubt in 1971, as I became to entrench myself as centre-half back for Hawthorn, I gained interstate selection for the first time, represented the Big V, and we were leading up into a final series as well. So all of a sudden the realisation, not only am I playing for the Hawks, but we're going to be playing potentially in a grand final.
Describe the feeling.
Well, it's a feeling that's hard to describe, Tony, because as you gain experience, you realise that the ultimate is to play in a grand final and then cream on the cake to win a premiership. And it's so hard to attain. So many are striving to do that. So many try for so many years and never get the chance to play in a grand final, let alone play in a premiership side. So it's a great feeling. It's the greatest feeling because that's the ultimate in your profession, even though it wasn't our profession. It was like a sidekick to our job. But it's the ultimate in your field, and your field is Australian football, and the ultimate is to play in a premiership side. So the feeling is just you're so proud. You know, it is such an exciting moment that is very, very difficult to describe. I suppose it's a bit of a relief in some way because you work so hard, sacrifice so much, train so hard, make so many commitments that, what a relief, I've finally achieved it. But at the same time, you're pretty proud and excited as to what you have achieved.